שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני, כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו בגויים כבודו, בכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו בגויים כבודו, בכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו בגויים כבודו, בכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני, שירו לאדוני, שירו לאדוני. ספרו בגויים כבודו, בכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני, כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו בגויים כבודו, בכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, Shiur Adonai.
When y'all came in, did you grab the sheets at the table? There's 2.
Right? Oh, there I am. Okay. We're going to begin with a nigun, a song without words, which means it should be easy to sing along as soon as you catch on. Yai-lai, yai-lai, yai-lai-lai, lai-lai, yai-lai, yai-lai, yai-lai-lai, lai-lai, yai-lai, yai-lai, yai-lai-lai, lai-lai, yai-lai, lai-lai, yai-lai, 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 lai-lai, yai-lai, yai-lai,
On page 66, we set our intention for this Shabbat morning. Each of us enters this Shabbat service, whether in the sanctuary or online, with a different need. Some hearts are full of peace and gratitude, overflowing with love and joy. They're eager to confront the day to make the world a better place. They're recovering from illness or have escaped misfortune, We rejoice with them. Some hearts ache with sorrow. Disappointments weigh heavily on them. Families have been broken. Loved ones lie on a bed of pain. Death has taken a cherished loved one. May our presence and caring bring them comfort. Some hearts are embittered. Ideals are betrayed and mocked. Answers sought in vain. Life has lost its meaning and value. May the knowledge that we too are searching restore our hope and renew our faith. Page 77 at the top. Asher Yatzar, we thank God for our bodies in whatever way they are this morning. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, together, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom, you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware. We would lack the strength to stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh ol basar umafli la'asot. Page 78, Elohai neshama shenatata bi. My God, the soul you have given me is pure.
Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. 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 Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi.
Page 83, we read responsively as we think of all of the miracles that we receive each and every day. As I awaken, let this be my thought. May my day be filled with acts of loving kindness. Let me be drawn to learning and discernment, and may my actions be shaped by mitzvot.
Keep me from iniquity, disgrace, and sin. May I not be overwhelmed by temptation or despair.
Distance me from evil people and false friends. Let me cultivate a life of goodness.
May my hands reach out in kindness, and I will serve God through acts of righteousness.
Today and every day may I merit your mercy by living my life with compassion and love.
Holy One of blessing, draw me to your words. Teach me the art of sacred living.
Baruch atah Adonai, hamelamed chasadim tovim le'amo Yisrael. Page 106 for Chatzi Kaddish, as we rise and remain standing through Shema.
Yitkadav, yitkadash, shemei rabba, amen. Ve'amad yivrach ritei, ve'amnich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yamechon, v'chayerecho bet Yisrael. Ba'agaloi v'zeman kariv, v'imeru, amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach, le'olam olam me'amaya. Yitbarach, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitbar v'yitramar v'yitnaseh, v'yitador v'yitoleh v'yitalah, shemei kodeshah b'richut, le'elo minko b'chata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'rechemata, dam yiron be'olema, v'yimeru, amen. Baruch
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Yotzer or uvarei choshech, Osei shalom uvarei et hakol, Hami'ir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha barachamim, Uv tuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reishit, Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam b'chochma asita, mal'ah ha'aretz kinyanecha, Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu, al shevach ma'aseh yadecha, va'al me'orei or sha'asita yifa'arucha sela, or chadash al tzion ta'ir, v'nizkeh hulanu mehera le'oro, Baruch atah Adonai, yotzer ha'me'orot. Page 113. Love your neighbor as yourself, you said, and light-blinded we saw, that inner and outer worlds are one, as you are one. You spoke and we wrote. We reached for you down the centuries, your light moving before us as we climbed, fell back, and climbed again, your Sinai of life. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher ba'amo Yisrael be'ahava.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. You may be seated. Please join me in V'ahavta on page 116. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'valachtecha v'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam leot hayadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'chtavtam amizuzot beitecha u'v'yisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeit yadchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem emet.
Page 123. Together. The good in us will win over all the wickedness, over all the wrongs we have done. We will look back at the pages of written history and be amazed, and then we will laugh and sing. And the good that is in us, children in their cradles, will have won. Our hearts beat with certainty that there is a day and an hour and a mountain called Zion, and that all of the sufferings will gather there and become song, ringing out into every corner of the earth from end to end, and the nations will hear it, and like the caravans in the desert, will all to that morning throng.
שבכל גאולים לשמך
We rise for the Amidah, beginning on page 124.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, Eloyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekone Hakol, Vezocher Chaste Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechakel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Ve'rofeh Cholim, U'motir Asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, u'midor melech, melech mimit umechayeh, u'motzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Nekadesh et timecha ba'olam, Keshem shemokdishim oto b'shmei marom, Kakatuv ayad nevi'echa, Ekara zeh ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Eloch ol haaretz, Kevodo, Adir, Adirei
You may be seated. We continue on page 132, singing Vishamru.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Beini uvein bnei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam. Vishameru bnei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Vishameru bnei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Vayom hashvi Shabbat v'nafash, Shabbat v'nafash, Shabbat v'nafash. Vishameru bnei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Vishameru bnei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam.
Together at the top of page 135. We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessings, O God. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat. On page 137, keep your finger on that Chatimah, that last line of Hebrew, as I share a reading with you from somewhere else in the prayer book, and we come together and say that last line together. I had it. Aha. Life without integrity is like loosely hanging threads, easily fraying from the main cloth, while in acts of piety, we learn to understand that every instant is like a thread, raveling out of eternity to form a delicate tassel. We must not cast off the threads, but weave them into the design of an eternal fabric. Each day points to eternity. The fate of all time depends upon a single moment. Together, Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha be'ira na'avod. Page 139, we take the time to thank God for all that is around us, with Modim anachnu lach. For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations, Modim anachnu lach. For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons, Modim anachnu lach. For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements, Modim anachnu lach. for human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression. Modim anachnu lach. For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared. Modim anachnu lach. For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom. Modim anachnu lach. For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose. Modim anachnu lach. We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lahodot.
Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu, ve'ako Yisrael, ve'ako Yisrael ha'amecha, barecheinu yotzreinu kulanu kechad, ve'or panecha. Please take a moment for your own silent meditation. Yehiyu leratzon, imerefi, ve'egyon, libi lefanecha, Adonai,
Seder Kriyat HaTorah, our service for the reading of Torah, page 245. Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your cities, to hear, to learn, to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of this Torah, and let their children who do not yet know it hear, that they too may learn to revere Adonai your God. We rise in honor of our Torah.
Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, haolam omed. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, haolam omed.
On the bottom of page 247, we read responsively. In this scroll is the secret of our people's life from Sinai until now.
Its teaching is love and justice, goodness and hope. Freedom is its gift to all who treasure it. Shema Baruch Shanatan Torah, Torah. Baruch Shanatan Torah, Torah. Le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. Gadlul Adonai iti unomema Shemo yachtav. Lecha Adonai hagedula hagvura hatiferet vehanetzach vehahod. Ki echo bashamayim uvaretz. Ki echo bashamayim uvaretz. Lecha Adonai hamamachna ve'mitnoseh lechol erosh. Hine ma tov u'ma na'im, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'ma na'im, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov. Ya la 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 la. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov. Ya la 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 la. Hine ma tov u'ma na'im, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'ma na'im, shevet achim gam yachad.
You may be seated. All right, so when you came in, you should have grabbed the text sheet and the service supplements. You can follow along with Torah reading shortly, but you should have the text sheet in your hand. If not, there are some up on the table here. Awesome. So we are in our Torah portion of the Et Hanan. As per the usual, so much happening in our Torah portion. We have we have the opportunity to learn from Moses what is going to happen, and Moses is reiterating to the Israelites all of the things that they need to know because he will not be crossing over with them. So what do they need to know? In that, he reiterates the 10 commandments, and then he goes and adds in Shema and Ve'ahavta, which we read in our text in our liturgy every time we pray, essentially. And so this gives us the opportunity to really dive into that text and understand what does it mean. And what does it mean to love God from that bolded line of our first line of Ve'ahavta. So Bernadette, will you read Deuteronomy 6, 4 through 9, please?
That's what Jane was reading it.
Just the translation.
Okay. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on your doorposts of your house and on your gates.
Thank you, right? Should sound familiar. You know that. Did you want to know if you should do it in Hebrew or in English? Was that the question? I could have. She is, but actually reading from Torah. Jean will be reading from Torah in just a little bit. And she'll be reading these words. So it's great. We get to learn, dive deep into it. So what does it really mean to love God, right? Moses tells all of the Israelites, this is what you have to do. You have to love God. And he doesn't just say, great, end of sentence, done. But says, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. That's a lot of description there. So what are we getting from that? Sam, will you read Rashi?
With all your heart, the double vet in levavha, instead of the usual form, love God with your two inclinations, the good and the evil. Another explanation with all your heart is that your heart should not be divided with the omnipresent.
Great, thank you, right? So we look at this formation of the word. I know we're getting deep into Hebrew, but I can't help myself, right? That levavcha, most of the time we hear it libcha, right? Your heart. So Rashi says, well, there's got to be a reason why there are two vets, right? So if there's two vets, it means that we have to love God even with our good inclination and our evil inclination, not really letting the evil win, but recognizing that we have both of that in our heart. And that's why it's with your whole heart, with both of that. And then also he adds, because Rashi loves to have multiple explanations. So he said, it's not just that, but you can't have your heart divided when it's talking about God. You have to love God in all the different ways. And sometimes we like God, we agree with God, sometimes we struggle with God, and that's okay. But encompassing, you have to do all of it. So we get to Rashbam. Dorothy, will you read Rashbam for me?
Uvhol nafsha with all your soul, according to the plain meaning of the text, even if it will cost your life. It must mean this. Seeing that the Torah had already covered all the other bases when it wrote B'chol levavcha, with all your heart, the meaning is that while alive, you are to love God with all your heart if your faith and love for God is put to the test, and you must choose that or your very survival. You must choose the former.
Right? So that when we say soul, it's really about that breath, right? And that life, and having that idea that we are still with God, even if it's going to cost us our life. It's interesting that this commentary comes after, because a lot of times when we've had martyrs, they say the Shema, right? When they are nearing death, about to die. This is very common. And here we go. The next line right after says, this is why you have to do this. Right? A little bit of that extra explanation. Okay. All right, so next page. Daniel, we're moving around. Daniel, will you read Rashi on the top of the next page?
And with all your means, uvechol meodecha, with all your possessions, there are people whose possessions are more precious to them than their own bodies. Therefore it says, and with all your means. Another explanation of uvechol meodecha is, you shall love God with whatever measure, nidash, he meets out to you, whether it be the measure of good or the measure of retribution.
Right? It's really interesting. A lot of people translate this with all your might. And Rashi says, well, I'm gonna say it actually means with all your means, right? That yes, there are some people who really depend on their items. They're very materialistic, but that it includes that. You can't just say that. God has to be more important than all of your material possessions also. And then again, Rashi gives another explanation, because why not, right? And says it's also about your inner, right? Whatever God gives you, you have to be able to balance that out. So this is all wonderful and helpful, but what are we supposed to learn from it today? What are we learning from a practical sense? What are the things we must do to love God? Connie, you don't have to read the whole thing if you don't want to. You can popcorn to somebody else, but if you'll start reading Rabbinite Lisa Schlaf, please.
Interestingly, this is the first time the notion of loving God appears in the Torah. To the desert Jew who knew God through the splitting of the sea, the thunder and lightning of Matan Torah, mass plague, and bread falling from the sky, this was a shocking moment. You must fear God, yes. You must be in awe of God, certainly. You must love God would have been an incomprehensible command. And so, as the Bible professor Jeffrey Tigay suggests, the first paragraph of Shema makes it clear that loving God is not an abstract emotion, but grounded in the concrete observance of mitzvot. Once we have internalized the mitzvot and shared them with our children, we share them with the community. The project of loving God involves engaging as individuals, as members of a family, and as members of a community. Returning to the Jews in the desert, the command to love God is no longer amorphous or jarring. It is grounded in a very concrete action terms. We express the love to our children not only by saying, "I love you," but by sitting on the floor and playing puzzles with them. We express love to our parents not only by saying, "I love you," but by doing the food shopping when needed. And to God, we might not say, "I love you" at all, but we fill our lives with daily ritual, everywhere and all the time. This is a powerful expression of love. On this Shabbat Nachmu, may we find comfort in our own constant and repetitive expression of this love.
Thank you, right? So Shabbat Nachamu is this weekend, and it is the Shabbat closely following, or the Shabbat that follows Tisha B'Av, and it's this Shabbat of comfort. And so we are brought comfort in these words to love God and what that could look like. And I think it's really interesting, and Jeffrey Tigay goes more in depth in it also, that everything before you get to Shema and Ve'ahavta, where you're told to love God, which is so different, is reiterating all of the mitzvot, right? I mean, not all of them in general terms, right? Because people will say that all 613 fit in under the 10 Commandments, and the 10 Commandments are reiterated. So all of that is given to us again then, and then Moses adds in this reminder, and you must love God, right? And so this idea of we can show that we love God when we follow the commandments doesn't mean that you don't love God if you're not following all of them. Just wanted to throw that out. But a way for us to be able to connect with God in a different way. So I hope that you have found some comfort in these words and found a way to connect with God, maybe a little bit differently than you did before you came in today. Shabbat Shalom. So Jean and Corey are going to read some of this text. This will be on your other handout.
Wait.
Wrong mic.
I'm confused. And we would like to invite Daniel Villa to offer the Torah blessings. This is Jean's first time reading from Torah, and Daniel has, in the past, worked with Jean on Hebrew, and Corey often gives Jean a ride to services because Jean loves to be at services. Whether Friday or Saturday, she loves to be here. So we thought we would include all the people, well, many people who have helped Jean to be at Temple and to learn. So Torah blessings are on page 250.
Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai Mevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Hashem bachar banu mikol ha'amim ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
וישמע אדוני את כל דבריכם בדברכם אלי. ויאמר אדוני אלי, שמעתי את כל דברי העם הזה, אשר דיברו אליך, היטיבו כל אשר דיברו. מי ייתן והיה לבבם זה להם, לירא אותי ולשמור את כל מצוותיי כל הימים, למען ייטב להם ולבניהם לעולם. לך אמור לכם, שובו לכם, לאהוליכם. ואתה פה עמוד עמדי, ואדברה אליך את כל המצווה והחוקים והמשפטים אשר תלמדם, ועשו בארץ אשר ציווה אדוני. Oh, did I jump down? Okay. אשר אנוכי נותן להם לרשתה, ושמרתם לעשות כאשר ציווה אדוני אלוהיכם אתכם, לא תסורו ימין ושמאל בכל הדרך אשר ציווה אדוני אלוהיכם אתכם, תלכו למען תחיון וטוב לכם, וערכתם ימים בארץ אשר תירשון.
Right here. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Asher Koach. And blessing after.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת בחיי עולם, נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
And because this is Jean's first time reading Torah, we join in Shehechianu, a blessing that we say when we have a sacred occasion or a first time moment. So please join us in Shehechianu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Mazel tov. Thank you. This is very exciting. Jean said, I had a bat mitzvah, but I didn't get to read from Torah, and I want to read from Torah.
Yes.
So we made it happen, and it was so important, and I'm so
Yes.
glad that you could do it today.
Me too.
And read these super important words, right? The most
Yes.
important words, and you got to read them from Torah.
Yes, finally.
We go from blessing to blessing. We think of those who are facing the future not fully whole, those who are in need of healing of mind, of body, and of spirit. We think of them and say the names of those who are on our minds. The words of Misha Berach can be found on page 253.
Find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
All right. As we prepare to lift Torah, I invite Bernadette up to help me dress Torah. I also want to say that as I lift Torah up, I want you to look, as much as you can, for some of the blank spots, and you'll see that that is where, well, hopefully, theoretically, you'll see that that is where the 10 Commandments are being restated, where there's some little spaces in the column. And then you'll see probably, maybe from where you are, a big Dalet. There's also a big Ayin, but I think the Dalet is more obvious. And that is our Shema line. I'm going to let you point at it with the Yad when I'm lifting it up so you know a little bit of what we're looking at. Because the Shema is really special in the Torah. The last letter of the first word, Ayin, and the last letter of the last word, Dalet, are made larger. There's a lot of commentary about that and why, but I think it's really cool to see something a little different in Torah.
And it says it in the prayer book too.
Correct.
On
In
that
the Hebrew, the way it's written in the prayer book, not in the Torah service, but on the 2-page spread of Shema when we do it.
134 maybe?
That sounds accurate. I'll go with it.
No, that's not right. 114. Try 114.
114, you're right. On page 114, you'll see it has like the decorative one on the top, and then you'll see when it has it underneath on 114. You'll see the Ayin and the Dalet much bigger, but you'll see it in Torah. So please rise. Page 252.
וזאת התורה שעשה משה לפני בני ישראל, על פי אדוני ביד משה. וזאת התורה שעשה משה לפני בני ישראל, על פי אדוני ביד משה. יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי לי לי, יאי לי לי, יאי לי page 256. Eitz chaim hi l'machazikim ba v'tomcheha me'ushar terocheha tachenom v'chol netivoteha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva chadesh yomeinu kekedem.
We continue with Aleinu, page 283.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, l'teit gedula liotzer bereshit, shehu samech elkeinu liached et shemo, v'kor aleinu kecho hamonam, v'anachnu koreim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
You may be seated. We turn to page 289 for our memorial meditation. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death, all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. Our thoughts turn now to those in our community and extended community who have died at this time in years past. As we mark their yard sites, we remember them. Mark Abelow, Helen Badish, Herman Badish, Gerald Barnholtz, Harold Burns, Irvin Bornett, Julius Braveman, Ruth Brown, Toba Buxbaum, Debbie Coben, Lillian Collins, Eva Cooper, Melissa DePere, Milton Drieben, Sarah Dubinsky, Julian Edison, Elma B. Falkstein, Patricia Fisher, Claire Frontman, Rochelle Daisy Gez, Sari Gold, Miriam Goldberg, Jean Harris, Howard Honigblum, Danielle Christine Howard, Shlomo Ilan, Lynn Judge, Alan Richard Kahn, Vera Cates, Barbara Katz, Alex Queller, Anne V. Less, Leah Helig Levine, Svetlana Lubashevskaya, Richard S. Madden, Wanda Mann, Meyer Margolis, Harry H. May, Ernest T. McCown, Irma Oppenheimer, Hattie Kempner Oppenheimer, Norma Katz Oppenheimer, Orhan Ozmat, Paula Palmer, Irene Peltrowitz, Betty Lou Rice, Edith Reamer, Roberto A. Rodriguez, Rosalie Pasternak Rosenblum, Shirley Rotblatt, Sam Saknowitz, Ruth Susser Shapira, Ethel Sharlock, Marvin Shelton, Bobby Unger, Sister Mary Walden, Joseph M. Westheimer Sr., Harold Gardner Wolf, Raymond Wolf, and Edmund J. Wolf. To these names, we add the name of one who has been buried in the past 30 days, whose family is in a mourning period of Shloshim. We remember Hadassah Langbaum. We also remember one who's been buried this past week, whose family and friends are in a mourning period of Shiva. We remember Stephen Lang, husband of Christy Lang, father of Sylvan Lang Jr. and Amy Lang, Ellen Lang and Nathan and Leah Lang, stepfather of Courtney and Benjamin Graham, and Morgan and Nicholas Hull, grandfather of Emily, Alexandra, Ava, Isaac, Levi of blessed memory, Remy, Solomon, and Elizabeth. We join together with all of these names and those which are in our hearts each and every day as we turn together to page 294, rising together as one community. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei nechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'elam ulmei almaya, yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitzpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitzhadar v'yitzhaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudesha b'richu, La'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, u'ya'asei shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. Our closing song this morning is Esai, which can be found on page 339. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.